In the eternal confrontation of cats and dogs, the advantage is almost always with dogs. They are usually heavier, more massive, and also know how to act as a team. Therefore, it seems that this cat does not have a single chance. Fortunately, at the last moment, he appears to be her superhero. One cat attacks a whole pack of dogs, and thanks to rage and claws, manages to literally defeat the enemy. The cat throws away dogs who don't want to feel his claws in their eyes. And when the dogs recovered a little and were ready to counterattack, the enemy had already disappeared with his beloved. A real knight. The mother cat is also capable of such feats. These dogs wanted to hurt her baby. Well, they didn't know who they were messing with. First, the cat repelled the attack on the baby, and then started chasing 3 dogs. But do not think that cats and dogs hate each other just because they belong to rival species. This cat witnessed how a strange dog attacked a dog that belongs to his family. This was a big mistake. The aggressor did not know that this cat is a real defender of the house. He crashed into someone else's dog with his whole body and saved his furry friend. An emu is a bird that looks funny, but in fact is on the list of the most dangerous birds on the planet. At first glance, she is not particularly impressive, but her physical form is enough to fight on equal terms with the largest predators. In order to work with emus, wildlife researchers need all-metal shields. These birds are so devastatingly able to beat. But the main thing is their honest, pure, and inexhaustible love for fights. This one does not need to be provoked at all. He'll start pestering you himself. For him, any creation that he did not like in some way is a potential target. The emu doesn't even kick this sheep. Out of contempt for her, the bird just pecks at her head. And this emu is literally hunting a dog. Just look at how the bird hovers over its prey. The dog clearly did not understand what was happening. Some feathered monster appears, which looks into his eyes and runs after him with an obvious desire to break his skull. This is far from the only case. Although the emu is taller, the dog is heavier and theoretically stronger. But the bird doesn't care that they are in different weight categories. She wants to show that this dog's place is in the far corner of the kennel. It's better not to get caught in the eyes of an emu. The goose does not have huge claws and a sharp curved beak like an eagle. It doesn't have the impressive dimensions of an ostrich or condor. But every goose is a real warrior at heart. This dog is not trying to harm the goose. On the contrary, he nobly keeps an aggressive bird because the owner's property must be protected. But the feathered one does not understand the good impulse of the dog. It goes on attack. And the goose doesn't care that it's an alibi, a shepherd dog that was bred to protect against wolves. The goose goes on the attack, gets a couple of blows, but then gets up and rushes into battle again. It seems that he watched several episodes of Naruto and is now sure that the main thing in battle is not to give up. We don't know exactly what inspired this formidable bird, but although the dog has a clear advantage, the feathered approach is bearing fruit. The huge dog is retreating. He underestimated the stubbornness and unstoppability of an ordinary goose. Okay, but what about someone bigger? This goose is against his family being forced out of his favorite corner on the shore. That's why he's going to attack a whole herd of cows. Even one cow is a couple hundred times heavier and several orders of magnitude stronger than a bird. She could have trampled on him without a problem. And neither wing beats nor goose bites pose a serious threat to these ungulates. But despite these facts, cows cannot displace a goose. It is he who attacks them and drives them away. Amazing. His female just stands there and watches her partner easily scatter huge opponents. And why interfere? She's already sure of him. And you know what? She's right. The goose boldly goes into battle, into the hoofed giant retreat. They are trying to counterattack the brazen bird, but its pressure is stronger than a stone wall. In vain, they underestimated their opponent. It seems that the whole life of a goose is a futile search for a worthy opponent. Look at this brave bird. She's chasing 2 tigers. Cats are shocked by the bravery of this feathered terminator. That's when arrogance really saves a life. Each of these striped goons could have dealt with the goose with one blow. But the bird spreads its wings and goes on the attack. The tigers can only retreat. They are afraid of such pressure because they think that the power of the feathered impudent is much greater than it is. It is not necessary to take an example from a goose, but in a critical situation, self-confidence and fortitude can really save where there is not enough physical strength. With powerful blows of the wings, the bird stuns its enemy, making him tremble. And no one will want to meet with the tenacious beak of the goose. It's funny. It turns out that when the tigers decided to attack the goose, they first underestimated it. And when they began to retreat in panic, they overestimated. Have you ever had similar stories in your life? Share them in the comments. Finally, the goose has found a worthy opponent. You will be shocked, but the only animal that could fight back against this feathered avenger is an elephant. Yes, you got it right. You need to be literally the largest land animal in the modern world to give a decent fight to an ordinary goose. These 2 opponents are worthy of each other. Just look at these titans fight. The goose goes to attack the elephant, but unlike tigers and other large animals, our hero withstands this pressure and counterattacks himself. He puts his trunk into action and then even turns his back to the enemy. It's probably some kind of karate kick. Amazing skill on both sides. Here is a case when both animals underestimated their enemy, but neither of them began to retreat. This fight looks funny. A multi-ton elephant is trying to gore a goose, which an adult could lift with one hand without any problems. But we already know what these birds are like in business. The courage of an elephant causes genuine respect, don't you agree? By the way, there is some kind of mutual respect between the rivals. It's like they're at a tournament and want to show off their entire arsenal. Well, or the elephant just wants to finally find a way to drive this crazy bird out of its territory. Crocodiles like to ambush, but this warthog clearly noticed the predator in time. And when the reptile made a dash, the boar easily dodged the bite, jumped over the enemy, and ran away. The crocodile is in shock, but at least he remained in the status of a predator. The crocodile clearly considered himself a real monster, which everyone in Africa is afraid of. No, not all of them. Here's the best illustration for the words. Boy, you came to the wrong area. Huge hippos literally pulled the crocodile out of the water and started kicking it like a soccer ball. For them, he is not a predator, but a victim. Do you also not like it when someone steals food right out of your plate? Well, we are against violence, but we must admit that this rhino knows how to protect personal borders. When the boar did not heed the first warning, he received an unusual flight experience instead of a portion of fresh grass. The rhino did not finish him off. He just taught a spectacular and obviously effective lesson when he launched the boar up with one powerful blow. This cougar was able to catch up with the guanaco and thought that the hunt was nearing its end. But it wasn't like that. This hoofed animal showed the cat what a rodeo is. A few hoof beats, powerful jumps, and now the cougar is already flying off somewhere into the grass. She clearly regretted who she's messed with. And now we will show what other cases when cats chose the wrong opponents and regretted it. The tiger noticed the young bear and decided to attack. Of course, a club-footed predator is not an easy prey. But this individual is still very young and is inferior to an adult tiger by about 1.5 times in size and weight. But it didn't work out so quickly, despite all the advantages of the striped hunter. A young bear gave the biggest wild cat in the world an impressive rebuff. The tiger tried to bite the throat of its enemy, beat him with crushing blows of his paws, strangle him, but it didn't work out. The tiger made a mistake with the choice of his prey. The bear, although small, has great strength. He goes on the counterattack himself. The tiger seems impressed by such audacity. The bear has no chance to take down the striped predator. The forces are too unequal. But the powerful blows that the clubfoot distributes convinced the tiger that he should look for simpler prey. The bear defends itself fiercely, and it's not even clear who attacked whom. A more compact predator breaks out of each hole. The bear is badly battered, but he does not pay attention to the pain at all, and presses on the tiger. Finally, the striped predator realizes that if the fight drags on, the hardier bear, even if it loses, will be able to inflict severe injury on it. The predator must think about the future. He leads a solitary lifestyle, and if he gets his lunch now at the cost of injury, he will not be able to hunt for several days or even weeks. And this is already life-threatening. So the tiger still has to retreat. This bear has shown that he is not a prey, but a beast whose fury is to be feared. Can you imagine just how cool he'll be when he gets to full strength? This is not the only case of this kind. Here, the tiger met 2 bears at once. We must pay tribute to the striped hunter. Attacking a couple of such predators, even if they are somewhat inferior to a cat in size, requires courage. But the bears give the tiger a powerful rebuff. Here, one of them is fiercely fighting for his life, suffers the blows of the striped aggressor, but does not fall and responds crushingly. The second bear does not interfere. Are you scared? As if not so. He's just confident in his kinsman. A bear caught in the clutches of a tiger drops a powerful grip of a striped predator, after which it attacks him and tries to bite off the nose of a big cat. The tiger recoiled. That is what saved him. He did not expect such courage from the opponent. Meanwhile, the second bear is ready to join at any time. He is watching. But there was no need for his help. The tiger had to retreat. Defeating a giraffe is a very difficult task for any predator. Only lions can cope with an adult, but only on condition that the entire pride will attack, and the agility of the females will be supported by the crushing strength of the males. It is extremely rare that 3 or 4 lionesses manage to overwhelm a young giraffe. Here, the cats also decided that they could hope with the support of the main part of the pride, and pay the price for it. The lioness was able to jump on the giraffe, practically straddling it. We must give the predatory cat its due. It is holding up well. But she can no longer stop the tallest animal on the planet. Having escaped from the environment, the giraffe easily runs even with such a rider on the withers. The lioness can't stand this pace. No one has prepared her for this rodeo. She falls right under the giraffe's feet. Do you think this is the end? No, this insidious herbivore does not just fly over the lioness, but tramples on her. The giraffe literally fixes the lioness with dust and tramples the predator. Fortunately, she survived, but she will remember for a long time that you should not mess with the giraffe. In fact, the lioness was lucky that the giraffe just trampled on her. A targeted kick from this animal can simply pierce the skull of a predatory cat. The enmity between lions and hyenas is quietly known. These predators are direct competitors and are literally at war with each other. It must be admitted that it is often the lions who remain the winners. One male can defeat 4 hyenas and disperse an entire group of opponents. There are many cases when a whole pack of hyenas from more than a dozen individuals surround 3 or 4 lionesses after a successful hunt. With such a numerical advantage, hyenas literally besiege their enemies. They want at least to take away the lunch they just barely got. As a maximum, to deal with the lionesses themselves. And quite often, it is the sudden appearance of a male that destroys these plans. The mighty lion rushes into battle, hits the hyena formation from the flank, scatters them, and with luck, also breaks the neck of the slowest of them. By the way, besides hyenas, the main rival of any lion is another male. If you want to know more about how they fight and compete, then write about it in the comments. This Game of Thrones is worthy of attention. The problem with hyenas is that the lion needs either the cover of relatives or a lot of combat experience in order to go out against a large number of enemies without fear. This lion was clearly too carried away and overestimated his strength. He decided that he could single-handedly drive away an entire pack of aggressive hyenas. A big mistake. Hyenas are not inferior to panthers in bravery, and the lion unfortunately was convinced of this. He furiously attacks the enemy, and at first succeeds. The enemies just run away, fall under his crushing blows, whine in fear. But then it turns out that this is a trap. The lion was surrounded. He could not deal with any opponent. As soon as the king of beasts felled one hyena, he was immediately attacked by others, from the back, from the flanks, as if from nowhere. As a result, the Leo was never able to finish the job with any of the enemies. It turned out that hyenas are able to perfectly cover each other, distract the predator on themselves, and strike at painful points. It was impossible to tolerate their bites. The strength of the hyena's jaws is enough to crush the bone. Please note that the lion is most often sitting. This is not because he is shocked by what is happening, and his knees are not shaking. It's just that hyenas attack him at the most vulnerable point, in the groin. The male did not expect such meanness. In order to preserve all parts of the body, he has to go on the defensive. And so you can't win a battle with a numerically superior enemy. Look at the desperation in the predator's eyes. He feels so sorry when you realize that in a few more minutes, the hyenas will reach their goal and finish off their most dangerous enemy. Fortunately, the pride can come to the lion's aid. The frightening laughter of hyenas, the sounds of fighting, and growling spread so far that my brother heard them and rushed to help. He broke the encirclement and was able to save our hero. Such devotion to your brother is worthy of your like, isn't it? The lion was saved at the very last moment, and although it looks epic and heroic, the triumph did not always work out. The attacked lion was exhausted. The brothers were able to drive away the hyenas because now the lions could cover each other and could kill the entire pack. But the lions are no longer able to chase them. The hyenas retreated without loss. And the injured lion received a painful but important lesson. He will not mess with such a dangerous enemy alone anymore. It seemed to the lions that this was the happiest day of their lives. The rhino got stuck in the swamp and turned out to be completely helpless. Is he probably injured as well? Why else would you put your head on the ground like that? A huge creature armed with a sharp horn, which reaches a mass of about 3 tons, is usually invulnerable to lions. But here, everything is different. They begin to surround the victim, slowly squeezing the ring. Just look at how the predators tilt their heads in a hungry desire to bite into their prey. But they misunderstood the situation. The rhino was not stuck in the swamp. He was just taking mud baths and did not even immediately understand why the impudent cats were looking at him like they were having lunch. On a hot day, you just want to cool down in nice, cool water. And those cheeky cats ruined everything. When the predatory cats got close enough, the rhinoceros got out of the mud without any difficulty or effort at all to teach its guests a painful lesson. The inexperienced and young 2 males and a female were simply shocked. One moment it seemed to them that the rhinoceros was wounded, and now he was ready to ram and rip open their bellies with his terrible horn. Notice how slowly the rhinoceros came out of the water. He ignored the attempt of the most impudent lion to climb on his back. It seems that the giant lured the cats closer to teach them a particularly effective lesson, and then he just scattered them in different directions. What could be better than a warm-up after a refreshing bath? A rhinoceros had fun chasing lions and making them feel like helpless kittens. They will have to remember this lesson because another time they may not be able to escape. The jaguar is one of the most dangerous and toughest predators of the New World. He hunts caimans, catches anacondas right in the water, opens up turtle shells. But when the spotted panther met this alien-looking animal, she was a little bit confused. Admit it, the anteater looks quite exotic. An elongated trunk with an even longer tongue, a strange body shape, mottled coloring, and a tail that looks more like a broom. It seems that such a strange creature is defenseless against the third largest feline in the world. After all, the anteater is a narrow-profile predator. Its entire attack-to-me is suitable only to feed on ants and termites. But these features of his gave him something like superpowers. The constant confrontation with numerous insects that protect their lairs has made the anteater's skin less sensitive. And its tough fur has been turned into a real kind of armor. The paws with which it digs, ruins, and destroys termite mounds, strong as the buckets of a small excavator. They are armed with curved sickle claws, which are combined into one devastatingly strong blade. And the anteater is not afraid to use this terrible weapon of his. The animal deftly stands on his hind legs and prepares to strike from above, piercing the back of the head, injuring the skull, spine, and body of its opponent. And the determined anteater turns out to be a real bully who is not afraid of the jaguar, but on the contrary, he is the first to attack to scare off the enemy. When such a strange creature moves towards you, you involuntarily take a couple of steps back, don't you? Who knows what this trunk is capable of? The jaguar had to retreat and to look for easier prey. A crocodile, for example, or a deer. And the anteater will continue to roam the jungle in search of termites.